Stretching is very important. If you don't consider these 3 things, you might be stretching and stretching and stretching and still not see the results in your flexibility that you're hoping to achieve. If you're new here, hello, my name is Kayleen and I make all kinds of videos about dance in my life. So if you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not done so already. And just remember before we start that with all my content, I do a lot of research before I post anything, but my recommendations and my advice are no substitute for the recommendations of a professional, whether that be a physical therapist, a doctor, psychologist, nutritionist, you name it. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt, and if you think that you have any issues related to these things I'm talking about, be sure to seek the advice of a professional. So with all that being said, the first thing that I want to talk about affecting your flexibility is your breathing. Now I know this is something that we tend to overlook, especially as dancers. Even while we're dancing, we tend to hold our breaths, but it actually plays a vital role in the relaxation of your muscles, and that will help you get deeper into your stretches and promote more flexibility. So not to be boring with the details, but you have what's called the autonomic nervous system controlling a lot of the involuntary processes within your body. So things like digestion, your blood pressure, your heart rate, and whenever you take a breath in, it fires up a little bit, and then when you exhale, it kind of relaxes and lets your muscles relax. So you want to really focus while you're stretching on those exhales, taking deep breaths in and out to make sure that your muscles are actually relaxing to the point that they need to for you to improve your flexibility. And one of the most powerful ways to control your breathing is something called diaphragmatic breathing. It's often done in yoga, and basically it means that you're breathing and initiating the breath from your diaphragm, not from up here in your chest. So if you just place your hands on your chest and on your belly and you breathe in, and you see which hand moves. If your chest only is moving, then you're not doing diaphragmatic breathing. Now, of course, your top hand is going to move no matter what because your lungs have to expand, so it is going to go out. But you want to think about taking deep breaths in and having the lower tummy expanding, and then breathing out nice and slowly. When you breathe out slowly, it really relaxes your muscles. So you have 2 ways to do this. Well, technically 3, I guess. Number 1 way would be before you sit down to stretch, just take a moment, take a minute, and focus on your breathing. Take some deep breaths in and out, put your hand on your belly, do the whole thing. Number 2 would be as you're stretching, you really focus on your breathing. So as you're going through and moving between stretches, you make sure you're exhaling, taking full breaths. Number 3 would be you do both of those. That's honestly the ideal situation, is before you even get into the stretches, before you even start dancing, you do a little bit of breathing, be mindful of what your body is doing, and then as you're dancing or stretching, you do the same thing. Okay, the next thing that really affects your flexibility is actually your nerves. So I've talked about this in another video, which I think was my leg extension video maybe, and I talked about how your nerves are sending signals from the rest of your body to your brain. So when you stretch, it's not a natural thing for your body to stretch past a certain point. So your nerves are gonna say, hey, please stop, and they're gonna make you feel pain. And for most people, after you stretch consistently and you do it for enough time, your nerves learn that they can relax and they can relax the muscles. They don't need to send pain signals to your brain. However, with some people, and depending on your lifestyle, like depending on your posture, any injuries you might have had, your nerves might continue to send those signals even though you're stretching consistently and you're doing all this other stuff, you're breathing, whatever. And so in that case, we need to do a few exercises, kind of trick your brain into thinking that it's okay, and you want to get that nerve moving and letting your brain know that it can relax the muscles. I feel like I keep saying brain and nerves and muscles, like I'm hoping this makes sense. Okay, if it doesn't, leave me your comments and questions below. But so we want to mobilize our nerves, and there are different ways to do this depending on the body part that you want to stretch, but I'm going to talk about your hamstrings really quickly because I know that a lot of dancers want more flexible hamstrings, and it plays into things like your splits and your developes, whatnot. This will help floss your sciatic nerve, which runs behind your leg and all the way up into your spine. And it feels a little bit weird and you're gonna feel silly doing it, but what you do is you lay down on your back, put one foot or leg up in the air, flex it as hard as you can. And as you flex that foot, you're gonna look up toward your belly button. And then you're gonna point the foot and you're gonna reverse that so you'll look backwards toward the wall behind you. And then you just keep switching between these two, and you want to make sure that that foot is really flexed as you look up and in towards your belly button. So I like to think nose to toes, like your toes are coming toward you, and then you look back towards the back wall and you point that foot, blah, blah, blah. So you want to switch between those two positions. I probably do it 15 to 20 times, and then test your range of motion with that hamstring. See if you can pull your leg a little bit closer toward your face after doing that. And remember that even if it moves just the tiniest little centimeter, that is still progress that you might not have achieved otherwise. So remember that this takes time and it goes hand in hand with your stretching. So don't be discouraged if it only improves a little bit. Just keep trying it. And like I said, consult a professional if things are not working. Now that's one way you can do the nerve gliding for your hamstring. If you're not super flexible yet, or if you're like me and that exercise kind of makes you dizzy, I don't know what it is, like looking up and down, it just kind of makes me feel a little nauseous. So what you could do instead is just sit with your feet up against the wall in a pike position, flexing your feet again, of course, and then you're gonna kind of do the same thing where you just look down towards your belly button, and then you flip it and you look up toward the ceiling. And just do this back and forth, see if that helps with your range of motion a little bit. Okay, so this one you may not have heard of before. This element of your flexibility, it's called your fascia. Fascia, it's such a fun word to say when you say it out loud. Fascia. Okay, so your fascia is basically connective tissue, and it holds together other connective tissue in your body, so your muscles, your bones, joints, ligaments, etc. It is mostly made up of collagen and water, and when it's healthy, fascia is flexible, it's supple, and it can glide, which is the most important thing. It's designed to stretch as you move, but if it starts to dry out and tighten, it really limits your mobility. Now there isn't a whole lot of research to recommend specific things you can do with your fascia, but primarily the ways you can keep them healthy is of course making sure that you are drinking enough water and staying hydrated, and that you are active and moving enough. Sometimes sitting in positions with poor posture can also affect your fascia health. I'm gonna kind of assume that if you're a dancer watching this, you already are active enough. So the jury is kind of out on whether this actually does anything for your fascia, but it can make you feel a little bit better as you do your stretches, and that is foam rolling. So with foam rolling, you actually don't need to do it for super long periods of time, and you don't need to go super fast and like roll over every single muscle. You want to focus on the areas where you feel a little bit of pressure as you go over it with the roller. You want to sit in those positions for just a little bit. You want to find those areas of tension and gently, slowly maintain the pressure on it. If you don't have a foam roller, you can also try out different things like just rolling with like a little tennis ball or a golf ball, rolling over different muscles in your body. The other recommendation would be to do myofascial release, which is something that you need a professional to come do for you. And it's basically like a very intense massage from what I've read, but pretty painful massage because they're really digging in there and getting those knots out and things. If you really think that's something you need, what is the moral of the story here today? Consult a professional. So there you have it, a few things that affect your flexibility that are not stretching. Did you guys know about these things? Are they new to you? Please let me know in the comments, and let me know what other videos you'd like to see in the future. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a replacement for stretching. You still do need to stretch. And if you need a stretching routine, because I know stretching can get kind of boring when you just have to do it by yourself, I have plenty of them on this channel. I will put the whole playlist of stretches right over here. And then over here, I will put in my video where I talked about leg extensions, because if you liked this video, you might like this one too. Thank y'all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!